EAGLES, Eagles.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome into a Thursday edition of Birds 365, a game day edition of Birds 365. Johnny Mack, the Philadelphia Eagles 2025 season officially kicks off tonight with the first preseason game of the year. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Thursday morning, brother?
Doing well. Gearing up. Yeah, game day. Doesn't feel like a game day.
No, it doesn't.
Not the same.
It doesn't.
Not quite the same as.
No, I didn't wake up and get that game day feeling like you normally get, J Mac. But I'm still excited nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I think if you go into it the right way as a fan, and concentrate on younger players, and I think it could be fun for you. But if you want to see stars, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Yeah, no stars, more of a dress rehearsal for all of the, a lot of the coaches and stuff like that. But, John, you just mentioned it. If you go into it the right way with the fan, let's get some Johnny Mack advice to start the show today. How do you go into it for a fan watching this game? What's the right thing to look at? What's the right thing to take away from games like these? I know it's not much, obviously, admittedly, but there is some things I think you can take from them. How do you do it, John?
Focus on, just as I said, the younger players, the guys who are, taking a step forward, the guys, rookies, obviously, who you want to see. They need to get some live reps and see how they, one thing Vic said this week, you don't have to tackle in practice unless you're Jod Campbell occasionally, but, it's, are you going to make the tackle? Is quarterback going to break the tackle, or is, running back, receiver, whatever, yards after catch. So all of that's important, the live reps. And second year players, Johnny Wilson and Isaiah Smith at wide receiver, they got to step up and play better football in a live environment. So it's all youth. And most of the Eagles, even their star players, a lot of them are youth. So, but they're going to be very cautious with certain guys. I mean, AJ and Zach haven't even been practicing. They're not playing, obviously.
Yeah.
Anybody with any sort of accomplishment on their resume they're going to be very cautious with.
Yeah, we'll run through that, kind of get a look at who we think is going to play and who is not. We'll preview the game in hour number 2 today. Everybody, we'll talk to Mark Farzetta. Looking forward to talking to Farzy. I know he wrapped up his morning show not long ago, so he'll be with us at 9:20 in that spot. Looking forward to talking to Farz. Johnny Mack, as we go out on the field, just kind of gave some of the things to look at going out there. Let's kind of run through it. There's a couple names that I think are a little bit harder to decipher whether they play tonight. And it's not like I don't want to spend all our time today on who plays, who doesn't, because it's not that big of a question. I think there's a lot more substance that matters. But like a guy like Tyler Steen, we talked about him because there's no one else playing, but does he get reps? Does a guy like Jalix Hunt get reps, who doesn't have a lot of experience, but is presumed at this point to be the starter? Nolan Smith, I mean, you talk about it. He had 9 good games last year. Does he get playing time? I don't anticipate him. But how do you gauge some of the guys that are like probably going to start, but also don't have all that much playing time or all that much on their resume?
Well, one, I mean, it's a lot easier to project with Vic than the offensive side. Vic is probably going to lean towards playing the young players at least a little bit. Not Nolan, but somebody like Jalix, I would lean toward a yes. With Tyler Steen, I could he use the reps? Of course, but I don't know the value of it if the other 4 guys are not out there. Because one thing about offensive line is chemistry and all that. So if you've made the decision that he's the starter, and Nick begged off that on Tuesday, whenever he talked to us, I forget what day it is as usual, but last time he spoke to us, he begged off of that because he doesn't have to name starters, but nobody else is getting first team reps. Matt Pryor got a couple, but that's about it, maybe 2. So I don't see the value if the other four guys aren't on the field.
Yeah, for him, I would keep him out. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So, could he use the reps, of course, but he's not going to be playing next to Drew Kendall and Matt Pryor if it's right tackle or Darian Kennard. So, um, I would lean towards no with him, but we'll see. I mean, I
I
don't think.
think that's actually one unit where those backups might look better than better than we thought. They're not going to look like the starters, that's for sure. But I don't think they're going to be half bad if you line
Yeah,
up.
well, they're probably going to be better than the Bengals
Yeah,
backup
that's what I'm
defensive
saying.
front. Because the Eagles are pretty deep on
Shit,
the
they might be better than the Bengals starters.
not the defensive. No,
No, the offensive line.
Well, Hendrick's not there, but
Offensive line, I meant.
Hendrickson.
Not defense. Offensive line.
No, offensive line. I thought you meant offensive line against Bengals defensive front.
No, I was talking
Bengals-
about like as compared to
Bengals-
what the Bengals starters would be.
If the Bengals starters defensive front wise were out there, that'd be a shit show.
Yeah, that'd be a shit show.
Yeah. But Hendrickson's not even, he's holding in, as they say in the modern NFL, as he tries to get his deal done. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. One Tanner McKee is probably the most notable. He may have given a little hint that he's going to play. Eagles social media put out, they did a thing with the Madden ratings, which is my favorite thing, and the players' reaction to their Madden ratings, and Tanner's was pretty poor because he doesn't play. So the deep dive evaluation of Madden says he should be low, and he said tune in Thursday night, giving him some shit. So, but even that, I'm like, if they put Tanner McKee in, it's going to be a starting level. So he's going to get a series or two. It's like, who cares? What's the value in that? I don't know, but people find value in it. But I think the vast majority of the game is going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and then second half probably Kyle McCord at quarterback for the Eagles. And, that should be exciting. You got a local kid, Kyle McCord. So people should be fired up to see him play in the second half.
I am. I like Kyle McCord. Probably a little bias on my part as a St. Joe's Prep graduate myself, and Kyle McCord, obviously a pretty good St. Joe's Prep player. So I love this. Looking forward to seeing Kyle McCord tonight. John, the interesting part, by the way, I'll give everybody the update. TV scheduled tonight, guys. Locally, it's on NBC 10 in Philadelphia. If you're in Cincinnati, it's on Fox 19 in Cincinnati, and then it will be on the NFL Network as a replay. So if you're not in the local, I don't know how you're going to watch the game, but 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff, and then we'll be watching that. I'll be streaming some live here on the channel. We'll do a little pregame hit with J-Mac and a little postgame hit. Not long. All right, we're not going to get too bogged down with this game, but we will get our key takeaways from it, and that'll be good to see. John, the Bengals are expected to play a couple starters in this game. I don't know what that means in terms of how much or how long. Probably, I don't know, one series for the Bengals starters, but that should be a good test, John, for that backup defense. Here comes Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. What are you going to do to stop them? Will that be a 3-and-out drive, or will that be a 12-play, 70-yard, 8-minute drive to start the Bengals preseason?
Well, you never know, as you pointed out. The problem with the Bengals is the offensive line. So, if the left guard misses a block, you could have a 3-and-outs. But, if they get settled in, you're probably
Which means
in trouble.
what? We'd have a little Uchilari or Uche. Ojulari or Uche action.
Perhaps. And fans will get fired up by that if it were to happen. If they get settled in, you're probably going to be in for some issues. It might look ugly. But I wouldn't get too worried about that either for the same reason. So, yeah, I wouldn't be expecting too much, and I don't know why the Bengals are doing things the way they're doing things, but A lot of teams play their starters a little bit in the preseason still. I don't see the value in it. I've changed over the years after seeing the Eagles do it, I admit, because they've been so successful.
Yeah.
I think they do it the right way. And,
I think,
you know,
John, I think the Eagles' success has been so prominent. There's almost not really a case to make an argument against doing it the way they do it. You don't have to do it their way, but you can't really make the argument that they do it the wrong way based on what the success that they've had and really the health and everything, that the way it all adds up.
yeah, I think it's hard to break those old thinking, and I've been around for a long. And well, you got to get the pads on. You got to knock off the rust, and I thought that way for a lot of years, to be honest. And I'm like, well, really? Somebody pointed. You know what it was? Somebody pointed out to me, college kids show up day one. They don't play preseason games, and I'm like, I never thought about it before.
Yeah.
I'm like, they have a lot of scrimmages. They're preparing, obviously, but they don't
Yeah,
play.
they don't do much. Yeah, they don't do
They
that
don't
many.
play. They don't play preseason games. They just practice and then they go play.
Yeah.
I that registered with me, and I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And that's the way the NFL has gone. And I think they, and again, some teams, a lot of teams, certain quarterbacks we talked about like to play a little bit. I think it's more of a mental thing for them. I don't think it's helpful that much. It's when I asked Nick about Tanner McKee. It's like, well, if we're putting more value on, basically paraphrasing what he said, if we're putting more value on preseason reps with anybody, then we're not doing our job in practice and all that stuff. And I know it's frustrating for fans because they don't get to see practice that like they used to.
You're right.
For the most part, unless you're a marketing partner of the Eagles. But it is what it is. And those Cleveland joint practices coming up next week are going to be much more important than this game. And unfortunately, fans got to pay for it. Pay for parking, pay for everything else.
Yeah, I saw somebody was selling the I guess the Sundays, John, the open practice. Is that right, for the open to the fans?
Sunday night. Yeah.
I saw some tweet last night. Some people are flipping their tickets on the open market because they sold out. I'm like, you gotta love Eagles fans, man. Johnny Mac, let's get into a couple
questions. They sold out the open practice.
Yeah, that's what they put out last night. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if that place is full. They usually.
I don't think they open up the whole stadium, right?
Yeah. That's probably it. They probably sell 30, 40.
Yeah, right. That's what I think it is. I don't think they open up the entire stadium, but they did put out a tweet last night that we sold out the opening practice, and then I saw some account posted up they're being flipped for like $50 on the open market on the on the aftermarket. They were $10 tickets, which is pretty funny, but we'll see how that all shakes out. That should be good. I always like to hear from the fans in the chat who go down there to see what they think. John,
they'll pay $50 for an open.
No,
practice.
Don't pay $50. If you got it for 10, that's good though.
Yeah.
All right, John. A couple of Eagles I want to talk about that have. I think I don't want to say most approved because I don't really think that comment makes sense when you're talking about a preseason game. But I do think there are certain players that will have a chance to see tonight that matter because they're presumed to have an impact on the starting roster right now. Now it's early. That doesn't mean they're all going to. I mean, think about this time last year. We probably would have said, "Oh, I want to see Devin White because he's supposed to be a starter this year." Well, he wasn't a starter, so it can all change. But there's a couple names, and I want you to give me some of yours. But the first name that comes to mind for me would be, well, really two, but Sidney Brown. Like I want to see Sidney Brown. Wasn't a starter last year, didn't really get many reps. He had a decent rookie campaign when he played, and then he had the injury. Right now, the leader in the clubhouse to be the starting safety on the football team. I would say probably Sidney Brown, number one for me. And then number two would be, take your pick on Adoree Jackson or Keely Ringo. I think Keely Ringo is more important because he's the young player that the Birds want to win the position. But those are the two guys I think are, I'm watching them. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see the way they're playing. I want to see the way they're approaching the game. I don't know how long they'll play, but I do think those are two guys where, they're like in the weird bubble spot, John, of like they're going to be the starters, but they're not the entrenched starters. So they still have something to prove. They still have something to gain and something to lose as compared to, A.J. Brown lines up. I don't think you're worried about anything, So those are two guys that I'm interested in. Any other names for you, John? And then what do you think of those two?
Well, yeah, I mean, the competition on the defensive sides, Big wants them to compete. So, if he's got his way, and I don't see why they wouldn't give him his way, those guys are gonna play. Um, and for somebody like Caley, especially, he's got to start showing up a little bit more and being a little bit more consistent. Um, with Sydney, a lot of it has to do with Makuba and where he is now. He was back at practice on Tuesday. He was limited, but he did some team drills. So if it were full, I'd feel more comfortable saying he'd play, but he was limited. But that's something to keep an eye on to see if he plays, number one. And obviously, if he plays, he's got a lot of room to make up and needs to play well. So he's one of the more interesting guys because A, when he gets back, he's in a competition, and B, I don't know if he's going to play or not because he missed 6 practices from a team drill standpoint and was back limited on Tuesday. So he's probably the most interesting one. And then obviously I think people are going to be excited to see Jihad Campbell, who's going to get some playing time. Probably, if you go all the way back unexpectedly to the start of camp, we didn't think he'd be ready this early. And all of a sudden, Zach Bond's not going to play. And you're going to see Trotter and Campbell and also Small Munden, because that's been an interesting and how they utilize it. Because they, in practice, Small comes in a lot of, passing situations as a sort of nickel linebacker or high leverage linebacker, did a lot of red zone work in coverage. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, for me, it's the competition on deep. And that's been the whole training camp because offensively, it's everybody's so entrenched. And there's a couple things layered. Like I said, Johnny Wilson and I Smith versus, is Elijah Cook's going to continue to show up like he has in practice? Deeper roster, in the second half. Darius Cooper's a guy I'm very interested to see, undrafted wide receiver who's had a great camp. So on offense, it's like backups. I'm sure our buddy will be looking heavily at Harrison Bryant versus Kylan Granson. That battle, that heavyweight battle. And then, there's just not a lot of, obviously you're not going to see Saquon. So you're going to see a lot of A.J. Dillon, a lot of Will Shipley. You can see where that is. Unfortunately, Montrell Johnson got banged up. He's probably not going to play. So in the second half, and obviously the quarterbacks are somewhat interesting, as I already mentioned with McCord. But offensively,
I hope Tanner plays, but I don't know if he will or not.
Well, he kind of hinted he was, like I said, but if he does play, I think it's like 1 or 2 series. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And a lot of people point back to last season in Baltimore, which was the opening preseason game. And the Eagles were going to use their starters on offense. But remember what they were coming off of. And then it was a rainy day and they nixed it. So number one, they immediately nixed it because the field was a little bit slick. And they said, yeah, we're not going to do that. But remember, they were coming off the collapse.
Right.
They weren't coming off winning the Super Bowl. So, there was more urgency to, now there's not as much urgency, to put it mildly. So, and again, if you're not going to have Lane out there, if you're not going to have Jordan Mailata, if you're certainly not going to have the quarterback out there.
I'm not putting Steen out there.
You're obviously not going to have Saquon. AJ's banged up with a hamstring, so he's not going to play. So if AJ's not going to play, you're really going to put DeMonte out there. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Some interesting battles there that we'll be watching on defense. You brought up Jihad Campbell. I wonder how much Jihad will play tonight. I mean, coming off the injury, I know he's been basically a full participant in everything, and he's much ahead of schedule in that regard. But I don't know. Do you kind of want to bubble wrap your first round pick? Do you want to play him? I'm sure Vic wants to play him. I'm sure Howie wants him in bubble wrap. That'll be
that's a loggerhead said because Vic wants him to play. I mean,
I know Vic wants him to play.
He needs reps, and Nick made a point that that's not Vic's decision, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, did you make anything of that comment? No, right?
A little bit. I mean, a little bit of stay in your lane.
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
A little bit of staying. Nick putting down the foot, so to speak. And
Vic, I have no issue with, by the way.
No, I have no issue with it. Yeah. I have no issue with Vic either. He's pushing, and because he wants to get the team ready, and sometimes he pushes too far, and they gotta put the foot down. I
noticed a couple of those comments this year from Vic. I mean, he made.
Oh, you get it out. He does a passive aggressive. We don't practice enough in every single press conference.
Yeah, but that's one. I mean, I know he's going to say that. I mean, I feel like there's been a couple specific calls to Howie and to Nick this summer where you could maybe. I don't know if you project forward, maybe you could see where that could come to a head. But I said the other day, look, I love Vic. He's a great defensive coordinator, but he's not the head coach and he's not the GM. And when he was a head coach, he didn't have success. And be a great defensive coordinator, but stay in your lane. Like I don't want to say it to the point where I would sound like I'm bashing on Vic Fangio. But
I don't have a problem with him not staying in his lane, but when he goes too far out of his lane, I don't have a problem with the head coach putting him back in the lane. So I think it's good that he pushes them. Look, they practice more now.
Yeah, that's true.
And they did before Vic got here. That's because Vic's here. Now, they don't practice to the level that he would like, but he's already pushed them a little bit further. And so I think it's a good back and forth. Conflict is not always a bad thing. Sometimes if you don't have a little, AJ talks about that all the time. You got to have, during the passing struggles last year, you got to have those difficult discussions is the way he described it. If you just go, whatever, nothing's going to get fixed. So, but somebody's got to be in charge. In the case of the roster, Howie's in charge. In the case of, the football team on game day, Nick's in charge. So somebody's got to be in charge. And sometimes if you're in charge, you got to put your foot down.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll continue to break it all down. I mentioned we have Mark Farzetta in hour number 2. Good to see everybody in here today. Preseason game number 1. All right, August 7th. It's kicking off tonight at 7:30. I mentioned if you're in Philly, NBC 10, and then I did see a couple comments in the chat. You can watch it on NFL Plus. So for those who subscribe to NFL Plus, you'll be able to watch the game tonight. Good stuff. Johnny Mac, let's get to one of our chats here this morning. TK, member for 12 months. TK, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. He says, good morning, Zander and J-Mac. You guys are the best in the business. Look at that. Nice compliment early here. Don't catch you live very often, but today's the rare occasion I have the time. Love the insight provided on the show. TK, thank you, brother. That's the whole purpose of the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I always like that. I got a nice email, by the way, which is rare. Mainly hate mail, but I got a nice.
Do you get it? Do you really get a lot of hate mail? I mean, do people really have to go out of their way to try?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because I get hate mail too, but I get it for different reasons, and I'm like, whatever, fuck off, fuck off.
Yeah, I got a lot of hate mail, but I got.
You got a good email though. That's a good thing. Well, from one of our great viewers.
I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah, he said he loves the show, so I assume he's a viewer. Yeah, that makes sense. But anyway, he wanted to thank me for my work, and he and his dad would listen to the show, and his dad passed away, so it was nice they shared that together. So
wow, that's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, sometimes, John, you make a bigger impact than you realize. When we're doing a 2-hour Eagles show here. But Good stuff. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll dive into some of the nitty-gritty on this game. John, it's almost harder to do a preseason game show than it is to do a training camp show because everything kind of matters, or at least a little more on the practice field. You go to training camp.
It really does.
Oh,
I hate to break it to people. But
I know
really
it's brutal. I mean, even you said it that you're like, yeah, today I'm going to be asking a bunch of questions to a bunch of people who probably aren't going to be here very long. So
and then I corrected myself because now even that, because the practice squad is so large now, they get to keep essentially 70 players when you count in the international exemption for Lake and Bakali. So 70 of these guys are probably still, or, they generally go out of the organization to pick up a couple guys, but close to 70 of these guys are going to be here still after the final cut. So even that is not as exciting as it used to be, at least from the standpoint of trying to figure out the roster. Because now the bigger part is, and I talk about it a lot, is the manipulation. That's the hard part. And that's where preseason comes into, because, and you saw this with Eli Ricks a couple of years ago. When you look at guys at the back end of the draft class, like Cam Williams has not stood out at all. Antoine Powell-Ryland has not stood out at all. But if they play well in preseason, that's where it complicates things because if Howie thinks somebody might claim them, he's going to play those games where, all right, let me cut the veteran who doesn't have to go through waivers and do the backroom deal and say, hey, listen, we're doing this because we need to keep this guy off waivers, but we're going to bring you back. And if we need somebody to play, it's going to be you, that type of thing.
Right.
So those guys, if they play well in the preseason, that could be really meaningful for them to be on the initial 53. Whereas if Howie feels comfortable enough that they'll get through waivers, he'll just waive them and bring them back to the practice squad. So that's the difficulty in trying to figure out the roster now in the modern era.
Yeah, we'll see how that all shakes out. Antoine, I agree. Antoine said 61 on Madden for Tanner is an insult. I know we're not a Madden rating show.
Madden.
That's egregious. Are you kidding me? They put Kyle McCord higher than Tanner McKay. What is going on?
The deep dive evaluation of Madden ratings.
That's some bullshit, though, John. Even just if you just fucking wrote out the rank.
He hasn't played, so they just said,
McCord.
Yeah, but Kyle's a big-time college, but he's coming off Syracuse and setting the record. He played at Ohio State. That's the level of their evaluation.
I was not on my bingo card for John to understand why Madden had Kyle McCord ahead of Tanner McKay.
Well, that's why they have a head. Well, he's a good college quarterback, That's why I say, who gives a shit about Madden ratings?
They're disrespecting our boy Tanner McManning, Johnny Mac. Come on.
Well, they are disrespecting him. So, Tanner wasn't as high profile as a college player as Kyle McCord. But he's far ahead of him. He's had 2 years of development. And he's going to be the backup quarterback. So please don't get upset at Madden ratings. I can't tell you what to do, but
I love how you brought some objectivity to the Madden rating. You think they're as logical as you are, Johnny Mac? I don't know.
No, they're not. That's the problem. So why get upset over them? They're dumb. Now I realize the players value them way too much. Way too much.
Well, it's perception, John. People care. That's just the nature of the beast in life.
Well, and nobody wants to get criticized, and nobody wants to get poor. But I think when I say they care, when Saquon gets the necklace for being in the 99 club and Lane gets it, I think that's like you can pump out your chest a little bit, but I think they know at the end of the day. Like as Tanner walked off and joked, they know it's shit. It doesn't matter, Tune in Thursday night is what he said.
You could tell, though, his face. He was like, what the hell? 61, and then right before they told him McCord's next to him, he's like, yeah, you'll be.
Yeah, I'm surprised they even put that
you
out
should
there.
Be in the 70s,
because it was so low. I'm surprised they put it out there. But
yeah, no good. Wayne the Pain says Tanner Montana needs 2 series tonight. We'll see. I don't know if he'll get 2 or not.
He doesn't need anything, trust me, but he might get 2 series.
I don't know. He might be calling up and saying, I need 2 series to prove that Madden stiff's wrong.
He might, what you really want is for him to start and get 1 series, because that'll mean they had an effective series. You don't want 2 series. 2 series means probably 3 and out.
Yeah.
And then he gets a second one.
That's true.
Probably one series, 10 plays, touchdown, something like that.
John, where is Mike Gill right now? Portugal?
Lisbon, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I got a comment yesterday, because we always look for this. Whenever somebody goes away, we always seem to find a viewer, one of our viewers that is located where they are. So we got a comment yesterday, John, on our 10-day recap. All right. Rusty May Videos is the name. He says, I'm a listener in Portugal. Thanks for all you do. It's pronounced Lisbon, by the way. Lizbun. BUN.
Well, we're all what's his name, by the way? I apologize.
Rusty May Videos.
Rusty May. We're all ugly Americans. I apologize. We do
Rusty May Videos. Here he is. Gotta love it. Rusty May, thanks for listening, brother.
Yeah. I'm closer than most. I know Lisbon's in Portugal. Lisbon. Most Americans would not know that. So there you go.
Rusty, I love you. I appreciate you for watching, but come on, man. Lisbon. Who the hell gives a shit?
Yeah,
but
we're American.
I know. I know.
The fact that I know it is a win. And I'm pretty good with geography, though. I've always been pretty good.
Yeah, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac got an A in geography class and debate school, baby. Going back to your school days, Johnny Mac. Good stuff. Let's get our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue to dive into the preseason game. I do want to talk about some other things that aren't specifically on the preseason game, because there are still a lot of other good topics on this team that maybe won't be hashed out during the preseason game tonight, but we will follow along on them. And then in hour number 2, we'll talk to Mark Farzetta. So stay tuned, everybody. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop your comments down below. Any super chats will go to the top. We'll be right back in 3 minutes.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years. And that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365. It's game day here on JAKIB Sports, in JAKIB Sports, as the Eagles will kick off tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eagles versus the Bengals. Bengals expected to play a couple starters in that game, at least early, maybe a couple series, maybe one series or two. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. We'll get into some great topics here before we get to Mark Farzetta in hour number 2. John, the couple orders of business, the stock up, stock down thing came, so we'll talk about that, talk about some of those players. A couple other orders of business. It's not often that you have, a Super Bowl MVP quarterback, and today it's the birthday of Jalen Hurts, Johnny Mac, 27th birthday for Jalen Hurts. I would say moving right into the prime period of his career, which would be 27 to probably 31 for a player like him with the way he plays the game. I don't know what you think of that. Got a 46-20 record, regular season record, 6-3 in the postseason, 2-time Pro Bowler, a second-team All-Pro, 2 Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl MVP, and a Super Bowl champion. That is our 27-year-old quarterback. That's a pretty damn good resume for a 27-year-old player. So happy birthday to Jalen Hurts, Johnny Mac.
And I think Jeffrey first said it when he was 25. And I think he got his extension, the most mature 25-year-old he's ever been around. I think that's the case now that he's turned 26 and now 27. Amazing from that standpoint, just how mature he has been since very early in his life. And it's rare. And he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Still very young, still has to keep it going, but it's been a hell of a run for Eagles football. And I say it all the time, I've got to see it all this entire run. And a lot of people have contributed to it. He's not the only one, but amazing consistency. And again, I think the rarest parts of Jalen Hurts are intangible, that maturity, the work ethic, all that kind of stuff. Generally, when you have players like that, it's always about the work ethic, but also and I always talk about, he reminds me of Roger Clemens. And I use that comparison because, Roger, one of the best pitchers of all time. A lot of times in baseball, you don't have your best stuff, is what they call it. Right. And there's certain guys that would still, when they don't have their best stuff, they would still grind through. And you don't see it today because it's all relievers. But
yeah, exactly.
Back in a different era, when you had starting pitchers that had to go minimum 6 or 7 innings, and guys like that, very rare. They would not have, but they would still grind through and more often than not figure out how to get you a win. That's what I see from Jalen Hurts. Like, I've seen so many. You turn on, if you're not watching the Eagles, which I know a lot of Eagles fans aren't going to watch the rest of the NFL, but if you turn on other games and you see a quarterback who doesn't have his best stuff, that's it. He doesn't have his best stuff, and he's going to have a bad day, and they're going to lose the game. I've seen so many games where Jalen Hurts is not playing well. The offense is not playing well. And then in the fourth quarter, he's making 2 or 3 plays that win you the game. That's incredibly rare. That is incredibly rare. 60-minute player, all day sucker. They used to say that about Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
60-minute player. Like you can shut him down for 3 quarters.
Right.
And you better be up 2 touchdowns because he's going to keep coming. And that to me, those are the things that define Jalen Hurts, which is a lot of reason why you hear all the consternation about, oh, is he 5th? Is he 4th? Should he be in the top 4? Should he be 8th or 9th? You know, because everybody evaluates quarterbacks the wrong way, in my opinion. But he's very unique. He's a perfect fit. I've always called him a very unique player. Perfect fit for this team. It's another problem with the evaluation process. You know, the Eagles play a certain way. They play a certain way because they build the team around what Jalen Hurts does best. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
It's exactly what you're supposed to do. So if he was on a shitty team and had to throw for 400 yards every week to get to 8 wins, maybe it's better to have certain other quarterbacks to do that. But if you're in a position where you have the best offensive line and the Eagles have done, the proof is in the pudding. And that's where the success comes into it. They built the team. And that's why you see, no matter who the offensive coordinator is, a very similar offense at the end of the day from a schematic standpoint, how they play, because it's about Jalen Hurts. It's not about the offensive coordinator.
John, something you mentioned there is just his ability to not play good for 3 quarters and then show up in the 4th. And I love you're really the one guy here talking about that consistently, and I love that take on him. Do you think, by and large, John, zoomed out a little bit, that intangibles and quarterbacks are properly factored into the grading of quarterbacks? Like I'm under the impression that intangibles matter more than people think. I mean, I'm looking at the greatest quarterback of all time, most would say. Not, and I get it, he's in the conversation, would be Tom Brady. Like, he is the intangible beast. Jalen, I think, I'm not comparing him to Brady, but I do think Jalen has a great set of intangibles, and sometimes I don't think people give enough credence to that. How do you see that?
Well, they don't, because intangibles are intangible. So there's no, especially in this era of modern analytics, everybody wants the number. Everyone wants the stat. We'll point to the stat. And that's where you get into wins and losses. And wins and losses are not a quarterback stat, ultimate team game. But at some point, when you get to the level of Tom Brady, and you keep winning, and you keep winning, and you keep winning, and you keep winning, it becomes a stat, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely makes sense.
There are years, saw it last year, a lot of people gave me shit for my Sam Darnold take. Sam had a great year, won 14 games. But you saw it in the playoffs. He didn't have it early. Now, his offensive line didn't help him. He's getting killed. He didn't have it early. That was it. But he had a great individual season. It was phenomenal. Can he do that for year after year? Probably not. Like relievers in baseball. A lot of baseball comparisons today. They have an up year, they have a down year.
Right.
All right. The consistency, in a lot of ways, Tom broke it all because he was so consistent. Peyton as well deserves credit for that, but he doesn't have as many Super Bowls. Their consistency from week to week to week to every year. What I always said about Peyton Manning, you went into the season, this 16-game season for the most part. Your low water mark, Indianapolis went into every season knowing they were going to win 10 games if they had a shitty season. And more often than not, it'd be 12, 13, 14. That level of consistency from week to week, year to year, year after year, that to me defines the best quarterback play. And that's why in the modern era, I put Tom and Peyton above everybody else.
Right.
And Aaron's very close to that as well.
Where do you think that threshold is for Jalen to reach? You know, where I like the comment you made about wins aren't a quarterback stat, but when you get to a certain point, they become one. Where do you think that threshold would be for Hurts? Because, you know, maybe I'm an optimistic Eagle lover. I don't know, but I'd like to think that his mentality and approach to the game is a very big part of winning. Obviously, they have a great roster. Obviously, Howie is great. Obviously, Jeffrey Lurie is great. I'm not taking away. I have no interest in taking away from those people, but I do believe what Hurts has brought from an intangible side of it has played a big part. I think winning is a culture, winning is a mindset in some regard, and I think he's brought that in spades. At what point do you think that threshold changes for him as a player?
Well, I think I think most people in the league are already there. I mean, they know how difficult it is to play against Jalen Hurts. If you're talking about the larger perception of the grifters, I like to call them, you know, that has more to do with statistics, and which I don't think are valuable, to be honest. You know, it happened, and you can't ignore it. But if you take out the collapse of 2023, you know, and you remember they were 10-1. So let's pretend the season ended there. Then I think he would be 24-2 as a starter over those two seasons, 22 and 23 before the collapse. And then last year was like 12-3. So what, 36-5. I mean, that's fucking phenomenal. That is fucking phenomenal. But the collapse did happen. So you see, and that's where the team aspect comes into it. Because I think if people look into that, you'll see, well, the vast majority, there were games in that stretch where the offense played pretty well, but the defense, you know, the wheels came off with the whole Desai, Matt Patricia thing. So again, you know, ultimate team sport, complementary football. Last year, they had the number one defense. If they had the number one defense in 2023,
yeah, right,
you might have 2 in a row, and we'd be talking about 40-5 as a starter. So, you know,
it does feel like we're getting to an era. You brought up a little bit ago. You know, Indianapolis, when they had Peyton, they knew their worst year they were getting 10 wins. It kind of feels like we're reaching that. Like, I know
they're in that level. Like, how long does it last?
I mean, like, we talk about 2023, like we were like the worst team on them. But you mentioned we were 10-1 out loud, and we did fall off the face of the earth. That's realistic, but still won 11 games.
Well, yeah, they still won 11 games. I mean, that's a good season for most NFL teams. And yeah, everybody was like, the sky's falling, fire the coach, blah, 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 because they had that disaster of a defense. And, you know, some of that was due to timing, because Vic would have been here if Arizona made a decision quicker. But, you know, the timing didn't work out. And, you know, they didn't have the talent to be the number one defense that year, but they would have been a hell of a lot better. I'll tell you that. So it all factors into it, but he has been a pretty amazing starting quarterback. And, you know, the comparisons are worthless. And look, I go about it a different way. Because most teams, as I say, most teams can't play like the Eagles and don't want to play like the Eagles because they don't want to put the investment into the offensive line. You see Jerry Jones in Dallas. By the way, we haven't talked about Micah Parsons. He said he might not be there week 1. So, again, helping the Eagles. But you see the lack of discipline, and that's an extreme example of building a team. You think these teams, even if they wanted to, could be as disciplined as the Eagles to build a team that way. So when people get upset that I have certain quarterbacks above or certain quarterbacks below, my whole process is, all right, who would be better on the vast majority of the 31 other teams? For this team, and that's all that matters, Jalen Hurts is a perfect fit for this team.
Such a good way to put it, Johnny Mac. Well said by you. Great little segment there. And a happy birthday to Jalen Hurts, quarterback number 1, 27 years old today. Hard to believe all the success we've had. He's only 20, just turning 27. So great career so far for him, and we look forward to continue to watch him as the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. So good stuff there. Johnny Mac, we're going to do the stock up, stock down. Before we do that, our buddy Jeff Kerr put out a tweet today, Johnny Mac, and I want to run some of these.
Oh, boy.
No, nothing.
Got to be stat related.
No, not stat related. So he put up the Eagles players I'm looking forward to seeing tonight.
All
right. He says Elijah Cooks, number 1. Darius Cooper. I think he may or may not have gotten that from the man himself, John McMullen. Shunderick Powell. Keelan Robinson. Holland Pierce, Miles Hinton, Gabe Hall, Smile Munden, O'Shawn Mathis, and Tariq Castro Fields.
He's got to get the Penn State guy in there. Tariq hasn't had a good camp. Tariq is
Jeff has to get the Penn State guy.
He's a PI machine. You're going to see, he's got to figure that out. But I mean, I think he's going the right way. The young players, they're going to play a lot. I don't know if he did that in order, and like Elijah Cooks is number 1.
I don't know if he did it in any sort of order. I read it in order.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's like, but Smile would be much higher if it is in order. But yeah, all those names are guys who are going to play a lot and are interesting, and that's what I said. Focus on those younger guys. And for me, I would say, because I know how he doesn't want to cut them, but I would say Cam Williams and Antoine Powell-Ryland, they got to play well. They got to play well. And if they do, that'll change their futures drastically. So you see a sack or 2 from APR, all of a sudden.
Yeah, right.
He's back in the mix.
Come on, APR. We need you, brother. Come on, APR.
And hey, there's a good opportunity because it's going to be third team reps against third teamers against third teamers. But Eli Ricks proved, man, he got a pick 6 on a 4th string quarterback who literally could have walked out there and handed him the football, and it wouldn't have been more perfect. And he made the roster because that's the way the NFL is. Remember, the other teams don't get to see Eagles practice. So what they get to see are the games. So if they're having cornerback problems, like last year, Carolina had a shitload of cornerback problems after, and J.C. Horn was hurt. By the way, got in the car accident. Glad he's all right. But
yeah, I saw that.
They were picking up every corner that went on waivers that had any upside. I mean, it was ridiculous. And that's how he's concerned. And if a young pass rusher shows up in a preseason game, he's going to have to keep him because there's going to be teams desperate for pass rushers. So, and that's a guy who's hasn't done anything in camp to this point. But if he shows up in the games, he can change the whole trajectory of it.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, let's get into the stock up, stock down that we'll do through camp. So we've broken down a lot of the preseason game in hour number 1, first 30 minutes. We talked a lot about preseason game, who to watch. I just gave you another list from the great Jeff Kerr. All right, follow him at Jeff Kerr CBS. And then now we're going to get into some of these stock up, stock down. In hour number 2, coming up in about 22 minutes, we're going to talk to Mark Farzetta. So looking forward to talking to Mark in a little bit here on the show. John, here's the stock up, stock down. So for those who don't know, Jimmy Kempski does this every year where he polls the media. So anybody, I guess, that's down there every day covering the team, and he gets a stock up player and a stock down player. So we'll look at this list right now, and then we will kind of see what we make of it, talk about some of these names. So here is the list on the stock up front. 7 players got at least 2 votes. Now, I don't think he put in here the list of names that were polled, but let me see if I can see if that's in here. No, that's not in here. So Johnny Mack was one of them. I know that. Moro Ojomo, John, wins big. All right, he wins big with the biggest stock up. He got 9 votes in the stock up category. 3 guys then got 3 votes. Jahad Campbell, number 1, Josh Uche, and Gabe Hall. Those are the 3 guys who got 3 votes. 4 guys, excuse me. Elijah Cooks also got 4 votes. And then you had Smile Munden and Quinyon Mitchell with 2 votes each a pop. So some pretty interesting stock up players there. Josh Uche, a guy you're going to need to maybe make some moves or make some plays this year. Gabe Hall, Jahad Campbell, first round rookie. Moro Ojomo, though, running away with the field, Johnny Mack.
Yeah, and I voted for Moro, and Moro said, and it just wrote about it. Yeah, and Moro's been the best defensive player in camp. You can make an argument. Quinyon would be the other guy who might be, and then I think more people would lean towards Quinyon because he's more proven. But I think day to day, I think Moro's been the best defensive player in camp. So he was a deserved winner, and you're probably not going to see him tonight, but that's a guy I'm going to be interested against Cleveland because they have a pretty good offensive line, interior at least. And that'll be a big test for him to see if he can, keep that going because a lot of it has been against Tyler Steen, who's struggled a little bit. Sometimes it's, I always say styles make fights, and sometimes guys have difficulty with certain players. It's just their style is difficult to deal with, and maybe Tyler's better than because Moro's very unique as far as being undersized and quick. Landon Dickerson called him awkward to block in a good way. But he's been great in training camp. I mean, not much to complain about. And I'm not surprised that he was a runaway winner. And he was a runaway winner, 9-3, as you mentioned. And that's who I picked for stock up.
Moro Ojomo, I like it stock up. Jahad Campbell gets in there with 3 votes, which is good. Josh Uche, I'm excited about, Josh Uche having a pretty good camp. John, the one thing I like about Uche is that I think he's a smart player, and I think Vic likes smart players. So I could see him being able to kind of get along well with Vic. I know his skill set. I wondered about how it would work with Vic. But seems like he's having a good camp so far. Maybe a unexpected solid depth piece at the edge room.
Yeah, I'm not as high on the edge room as we said, and hopefully I'm wrong. But
feels like Uche is having a better camp than Ojulari, though.
Yeah, that I think is fair. Although I'm not sure the Eagles think of it that way. But Josh, it's certainly been he's looked much better than Ojulari. But Ojulari's gotten more first-team reps, and it's not particularly close. So that's a concern to me. But, they gave him a little bit more money. Not a ton of money, but $3.5 million. Now, Devin White proved last year that if you continue to play poorly, that they'll move on. And that's where I think Azeez is right now. He's got to pick it up. But to date, through 10 practices, he's gotten way more first-team reps than Josh. But Josh has been catching up a little bit recently, so you can see the shift. But still a concern. And, hopefully those reps against Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata really helped Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt because you need those guys. Yeah,
you really do, man. We really do. So we'll see how it shakes out with those guys. I'll rattle off real quick. 5 other guys got 1 vote. Jordan Davis got 1 vote. Cooper DeJean got 1 vote. Anais Smith got 1 vote. Wonder who made that. Tyler Steen got 1 vote. And Jeremiah Trotter got 1 vote. I thought Trotter might have gotten a couple more. Trotter's had a good camp so far. So those are the other 5 guys who got stock up votes. Now we shift gears and go to the stock down department, John. There's a couple guys in this list who got a lot of stock down votes, a little bit more, less disparity in this list. Number one on the list of stock down is Kenyon Green. John, I don't think Kenyon Green's making the team. 7 votes, stock down.
No, I think it's very unlikely at this point he makes the team, but I think a lot of that was, projection that, he's going to be Mekhi Becton. That was I think that was the starting point. So from that, if that's your starting point, I get why people voted for Kenyon Green, but that was never the starting point. Even if you thought that, in the spring, the guy never even got a rep at right guard.
Right.
So I have a problem with that from that standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not a problem, because I think that's where the people that voted for him were starting. To me, it was pretty clear in the spring. Now, I may have thought that during the trade, hey, maybe that's the next Mekhi Becton. But once I got to spring work and I said, well, they're not even using him. That shifted my thinking. But he is not on a positive trajectory. And with all their young offensive linemen that they want to keep, the numbers game looks pretty daunting.
Yep, no doubt. 4 other players that got multiple votes on the stock down. Before I rattle them off to you, John, who was your stock down?
Mine was Adoree Jackson.
Mm.
And this is, now.
And he only got one vote. You were the only vote for him.
Yeah. And the reason why, which I think I explained yesterday or maybe 2 days ago, I think when Jeff was on, whenever that was, because Jeff voted for Ringo and most people voted for Ringo. Well, the trade for Jacorian Bennett tells you all you need to know about how they feel that competition is going. They're not confident in either player. But I chose Jackson over Ringo because Ringo's going to be here. Because Ringo's going to be the punt gunner. He's your best punt gunner. He's a great special teams, but he's already proven that. He's going to be that. Like Adoree Jackson, as I said, he might be the second corner. And if today, like I said earlier, if they were playing the Cowboys today and not the Cincinnati Bengals in week 1, I think Adoree Jackson's your starting corner. However, I think he could go down from 2 to number 7. Like I said, one. If he's not the starter, why are you keeping him?
Yeah, it's a big fall. It's a big fall from grace.
Yeah. So that's why my whole mindset was, all right, who was hurt most by the Bennett trade? Most people think it's Ringo. I think it's Jackson. So if Jacorian Bennett shows up and is a player, I think he's on some shaky ground.
When can we expect to hear some about Jacorian Bennett? Probably on the practice field for next week?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, he hasn't even practiced. So he was here Tuesday, but he didn't practice. And they had a walkthrough. So it's only a preseason game. I mean, I guess they could throw him in there. They're not game planning. But I doubt it. And then I think he'll get a lot of reps against Cleveland. So you should learn, and they'll start him slow. I'm not saying he's going to get first team reps right away, but they brought him here for a reason. And I just disagree with people that Ringo is more like Ringo's going to be here. I guess they could trade him. I mean, in the off case, if they want a player for player trade, but other than that, he's not getting cut.
I guess a trade could make sense if Jacorian really, really looks good.
Yeah, well, if he can get something, if you get an edge rusher, player for player, maybe that.
What are you going to get back for? What are you going to get back in that?
Well, you're going to get back a Jacorian Bennett level player at edge rusher.
Yeah, and you got that in Uche and Ojulari already.
I don't know if you do.
Wait a second. You don't even think they have that level from those guys?
Well, by that I mean Bennett's younger.
Yeah, cheap, I guess.
Yeah, the upside is higher. Those guys are more entrenched, more veteran players, bigger sample size. So that's what I mean by that. Um, you know, they've kind of already been around. You kind of know what they are.
Yeah.
Whereas Bennett, there's still some upside to delve into. And you can see some of the, somebody sent me his forced incompletion rate. You can see some of the advanced numbers. 21.6 for Jacorian Bennett last year, which was fifth highest in the NFL. And the highest for an Eagles corner since Bradbury was a second-team All-Pro. Now, very limited sample size, but you see some of that, and that's the stuff the Eagles look at. You see some of the upside. So that's what I mean by getting an edge rusher that would have more of an upside.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Maybe we'll look for that. The next, the final four players who got multiple votes on the stock down list. So I mentioned Kenyon Green was the top guy. I agree with John. From that perspective, I don't love it. But 6 votes, Keely Ringo stock down. Feels a little harsh, but Ringo and a stock down there. Makuba with 5 votes. Andrew Makuba stock down, 5 votes for the rookie. And then number 4 votes, Edge Azeez Ojulari. And not a great camp for Azeez Ojulari. And then 2 stock down votes for Nakobe Dean. So that hasn't even been out there. And you're still getting stock down votes because everyone around him is getting better. And he is nowhere to be found. Out of sight, out of mind, Johnny Mac. That's unfortunately how it goes in a dog-eat-dog world. But those are the other 4 players. Ringo, Makuba, Ojulari, and Dean on the stock down list for the media.
Yeah. I don't like the stock down list for, again, Green, Ringo, I think is way off. Makuba's just injuries. I mean, he's fine from a long-term perspective. Ojulari, I would, go first, other than if you don't look at it the way I look at it with the Bennett trade, which is fine, but I would say Ojulari on the field has been the real winner, so to speak, loser.
Winner of the losing.
Yeah, Nakobe, I get the mindset there because Campbell's, obviously going to be a big part of this defense in the coming years. Smiles look good, Trotters look good, but boy, the people that voted for Nakobe don't listen to Vic. I'll tell you that. And again, a lot of it depends on health, and that's because that's a very serious injury. So if he's not healthy, I mean. And he's not the same player. That changes the mindset, but Vic loves him as a player. And short term, if he's healthy and he's back and he's good, he's going to be on the field. Other guys, Terrace Marshall, that's about injuries. He just got back. Eli Ricks, boy, I'm shocked by that one. Eli's had a pretty good camp. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's been better. He started slowly. He's been better. Avery Williams, I agree with.
Yeah.
Johnny Wilson, too. I think it would be more of a stock up guy. Now, I wouldn't, he's trending upward more than downward. But those are just one vote, guys. So.
Interesting. Good stuff there. And the stock up, stock down. I like the way Jimmy ends it. Jimmy, for those who've read this article, Jimmy lists out like all the guys that have gotten stock down votes in the last years. And he shows how predictive it's been of players that have struggled. For example, last year, Anaya Smith was a stock down guy. He made the team, but he didn't play.
But who are those 5 voting for Nakobe? Those are the Devin White people. Nakobe got 5 last year. Stock down. That's embarrassing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see that. 25. And Nias got 9 and Nakobe got 5. Nakobe's been on the stock down list 23 and 24.
Yeah.
23 was a little correct. He was injury plagued.
23 is fine, but 24, man, you're not paying attention to training camp.
I like 10 and 11.
Frustrated.
I like the bottom list, though, John, where you list them all out. And then you got 10. Andre Dillard was a bust. 11. Jalen Reagor was an even bigger bust than Dillard.
Yeah.
How's that for a couple stock downs from the media? All right, so good stuff on that regard, Johnny.
Well, the top guys, Anai Smith, Nicholas Morrow, Gardner Minshew, that was a little harsh. Chikowski Tart, that was bad. Dillard, Sidney Jones, Clayton Thorson was an abomination. Jordan Mailata gets 7 votes in 2019. That's bad. That's a bad job. Corey Nelson, Isaac Seumalo got a lot of Patrick Robinson. That's interesting. That is where
14,
we just
that's a hefty number.
Patrick Robinson had such a bad training camp in 2017. He spoke to us about how bad it was, and he turned into the best slot cornerback in the NFL that season. That is the outlier because he was bad in training camp.
Is the media contingency shrinking in Philly?
A little bit. They try to, but it's still the largest, only because they don't let people in. They're trying to regulate it a little bit more. But, yeah, it's overbearing in training camp still. But it is shrinking a little bit.
I just mean like in 2017, Patrick Robinson got 14, and then Shelton Gibson got 10. And then last year, Anias got 9, Kobe got 5. So it's like, I don't know, it just feels like there's more votes in those years.
Yeah, since COVID, they have scaled it back a little bit. So it's not quite as big as it once was.
Yeah, good stuff there on stock up, stock down. Anybody in the chat, put your stock up, your stock down. I know you're not watching them every single day, but you know enough listening to Johnny Mac for 2 hours a day, talk about these practices and what.
I used to get frustrated because last year with N'Kobe, I was telling people every day towards the end of camp, he's their best linebacker. He's their best linebacker. He's their best linebacker. And I'd get all the Devin White haters. And then
Devin White lovers at the time.
Devin White lovers, yes, thank you. And then after it happened, and plus, Vic kind of told me, after it happened, then people are like, well, you guys said. I didn't fucking say. That stuff pisses me off. Like, I'm not responsible for other people. It's like Howie and the Jalen Reagor pick. That pisses me off. It's like, no, I was telling you exactly what was going on. And I can't be responsible for others. Now, if I get something wrong, I'll be the first one to stand up and say, hey, I got that wrong. But yeah, I don't care what anybody else says. And anybody else was telling you that Devin White was going to be the starting linebacker. I had that locked down. Anyway, pet peeve.
I don't blame you. Got to toot your own horn there a little bit. Prince says, stock up. Quinyon F. and Mitchell. Here we go. Dark horse, stock up. Dotson. I think that's fair.
Yeah, Dotson should have got a vote or two. Well, with Quinyon, he's too good. So, I mean, really good players don't get stock. Like, I'm surprised he got any.
AJ Brown's not getting any stock up because he's AJ Brown.
I'm surprised Quinyon got any votes, to tell you the truth, because everybody should know how good he is. But he has played even better this camp. So, I mean, that's not an indictment that he didn't get more votes. He's just, people expect him to be good.
Right. Luffy says stock up. Oh, no. Luffy says stock up Dorian Thompson Robinson. How about that?
He's been better, but yeah, I don't see a path for Dorian. Other than if he plays well in the preseason, the Eagles might get something in a trade for him. Now, they would like to keep him around on the practice squad, but they're not gonna put Kyle McCord on waivers, I guarantee it. So, your 3 quarterbacks are locked in. And then can you get Dorian through waivers? That's dependent on how bad the third quarterback situations are around the rest of the league. And you're going to see a bad group of quarterbacks in this week with the Cleveland Browns. So, but they have two young quarterbacks, and he was, obviously already there, so that's unlikely. But there's plenty of teams that will need a third quarterback, and he'd be susceptible to being claimed.
Right. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. We're going to have Mark Farzetta joining us here in a couple of minutes as we'll talk about the preseason game that kicks off tonight, 7:30 p.m., Eagles-Bengals. I did see somewhere, not sure how much truth there is to it, that the Bengals might play their starters for the whole first quarter. So could be a test out there, J-Mac, for that defense.
Yeah, and by the way, if that happens and it looks bad, I wouldn't get too upset about it.
No, you can't get too upset. But I do want. I'm hoping Joe Burrow targets Ringo, targets Sydney.
People will though. People will
Well,
people will get upset if it looks bad, and it won't matter if it's their first team against, And some guys are going to play, obviously, for the Eagles defense, but I don't think you're going to see Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis or Nolan Smith, maybe even Morrow. Quinion, I don't think you're going to see. Cooper.
No.
Reed. No. So I wouldn't get too upset.
Brian Pump with a super chat says, "Happy birthday to my precious QB1, my GOAT." Wow, from Brian Pumper. This guy's like a seesaw, Johnny Mac.
Is that I don't know who Pumper's talking about. Is he talking about his significant other? Is he talking about Jalen? Is he talking about, he's a big Tanner McKee guy. He must be upset about the Madden ratings today.
Oh, yeah, McKee got disrespected in that regard. Come on, Madden. A 61 for McKee is no good. Pump, thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it. Game kicks off tonight, 7:30. It's on NBC 10, Philadelphia. For those who have the NFL Plus app, I'm pretty sure you can watch it on there.
How about Cozy TV? Is it on Cozy TV?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't even know how Cozy TV works.
I don't know. I still don't know how Cozy TV
is. It like an app or is it like I don't know what Cozy TV is.
I don't know, but I remember one preseason game was on Cozy TV.
Yeah, I remember that too. I don't know how you get to Cozy TV. Let's get to the super chat real quick before we get to Farzy. Prince says, "J-Mac, the reason I picked Quinion Mitchell is that I genuinely believe he will be a star in this league. He
already is a star.
I received criticism for this opinion when someone called me a dumbass Toledo. Toledo, baby. I don't know what you meant to say there, Prince, but
he already is a star. That I'm just saying in this particular thing, because Jimmy's been doing it a long time. I've been there the entire time he's been doing it. Those guys don't get votes. Established players don't get votes. I'm surprised he got 2 votes because people know he's good.
I do agree with Prince in the sense that last year, Quinion, as great of a year as he had, he was the second corner on the team. I do think he solidifies himself as a star NFL wide this year.
I think he already is a star, as you saw on that other goofy list, whatever it was. He was 49th. He's already is a star. Just a matter of how. So
yeah, but there's a coming out party too. Like you talk about Jordan Mailata all the time. Jordan Mailata has been a star for a few years now. Yeah,
well, I'm not talking about
recognized.
I'm not talking about all pro or pro ball. I'm talking about our Philly media that Jimmy does to stock up. Generally, guys who are good players. We know they're good players. So as you pointed out, now it's more veteran. AJ, Saquon are never going to get, but Saquon's been the best player on offense. He's not getting any vote. He didn't get 1 vote.
Right.
Stock can't go any higher. That's all I'm pointing.
So Quinion Mitchell's stock is already very high up for J-Mac. Good stuff. Yeah. Let's get to Mark Farzetta. John set to join us right now, host of the Farzy Show. He joins us right here on Birds 365 as we get ready for the preseason game tonight. Mark Farzetta, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing on this Thursday morning?
What does that mean to be a Toledo? I was called a Toledo.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, I know he went to school at Toledo.
You bunch of Toledos. That's what you guys. Johnny Mac, what's up, buddy?
What's happening? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you.
Been a minute, friend. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Football season is back, I guess, a little bit. We got a preseason game, so it's good to get you back in the mix. Now, I don't get this. What's your feel when that first preseason game? Do you get excited at this stage? Do you say, I want to see the young guy? How do you approach watching a preseason game, Mark Farzetta?
Oh, well, once I get done my preseason parade and settle into my my sofa, and fully, by the way, my sofa, not to brag, gentlemen, but my sofa reclines. I know. Once I get into that perfect reclining seat and get my laptop out there with my little desk that I set up, I watch the first 5, plays or so, and I'm still a little amped up just to watch it. And then quickly, it just goes away. It might be the most fleeting excitement in all of sports, where you're just excited to see the jerseys on the field and guys wearing them and running around and all that. And then you see maybe a couple of rookies, whatever. Vic Fangio likes to play a good amount of his starters. I don't think we're going to see as much of that with Zach Bond and Nolan Smith being hurt, but you'll see guys of note, certainly in the early goings, and then it just goes away. It just gets very fleeting. But yes, leading up to the game, John, to answer the question, I do get excited to watch it.
In that brief period of excitement that you hold, Farzy, I'm with you on it. Who are you most excited to see out there? I do think it's an interesting one because there's so many kind of battles on the defensive side and young players. So, hey, maybe Vic Fangio gets his way and a couple more of them play some snaps tonight. Who are you most excited to see, if anybody?
I'm surprised that this guy is likely to play tonight. And, John, please correct me if I'm wrong, but JAKIB Campbell, I know it might be the obvious pick for a first rounder to be the most excited that you want to see. He's definitely a guy that is on everybody's radar. But the thing that really raised my eyebrows is that nobody can really put their finger on why they want to see it. You got to see the way he does this. Nobody, it's like everything he does is just impactful. There's no wasted motion with this player. You could tell that this guy is a model of efficiency when it comes to the defensive side of the football. But the thing that really raised my eyebrows was the closest thing to specific that I've heard so far was just Jalen Hurts. And it's still general, but the closest thing to specific. Jalen Hurts say that he could feel his presence on the field. He could feel his presence while he's out there as the quarterback of the team, obviously. He knows where JAKIB Campbell is on the field. He's got to find him every single time. So when you hear a Super Bowl MVP talk about a rookie edge rusher or linebacker have this presence about him already, I can't wait to see what that presence really means when he's actually on the football field trying to make plays for you here. And then a guy that's more under the radar, and to me, acquiring Jacorian Bennett to be part of that cornerback mix, however he's going to be used, certainly that's what a lot of people are drawn to, and they'll, say Keely Ringo versus Dory Jackson. Is he going to be thrown into that and all that? But really what that meant to me was what the Eagles gave up more so than what they acquired. And letting go of Thomas Booker IV, who in limited snaps showed you that he belongs in the NFL, certainly. And you're talking about a defensive line that's now going to make up for Milton Williams no longer being here. It showed me that they got confidence in Ty Robinson. They got confidence in Ty Robinson, and they certainly have confidence in Moro Ajomo as defensive tackles on this line, and also maybe even Gabe Hall, that 6'6" defensive tackle. So I look forward to seeing what Ty Robinson does in a game setting as well. Both of these guys, obviously on the defensive side of the football, very much looking forward to what they could bring to the table tonight.
Yeah, you know what Campbell reminds me of, Mark, is like big, long NBA defender, like first team all day. He's just so rangy. That's what Jalen was talking about. It's like, it's weird. Like N'Kobe's a little bit undersized. Like he's got this tremendous length playing linebacker. So I think it sort of sneaks up on people. And I think it's positive from the standpoint we all thought he wouldn't even be practicing by this point. Right. From Vic's thought, and Vic had that great quip about the training staff. They like to understate and overperform. The back and quietly, he had been limited every day, Mark, because he was on a snap count. They lifted that. So now he's a full go. So he's going to be out there. And I think people should be excited to see JAKIB Campbell, because Zach Bond's not going to be out there. He's injured. Not that he would be out there even if he was healthy, but he's going to be a big part of this defense. And I think getting that first look at him should be exciting. But the offense, conversely, I don't think anybody's going to be out there. Would you put anybody out there? The starting
No.
offense. It's just so entrenched. It's like there is no competition. Even Tyler Steen is locked down.
Yeah, I heard Nick Sirianni get asked a question the other day about, can you just call it? Can you just call it? Who's the right guard?
By the
It's
way, I
gonna be
love
Tyler
Nick.
Steen.
That was Jeff
Yeah.
McClain, and
Yeah.
Nick said, "Call it," like he didn't know what he was asking. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. You
Yeah.
beat around the bush for a second there, but Nick's always like that. I mean, you know that better than anybody,
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
I don't have to call anything until I have to call. Like, it's not week 1 yet. Everything, blah, blah, blah. So that's fine. But yeah, offensively speaking, I was trying to really nail it down this morning during the show, and obviously before. But it's like, offensively speaking, you're good. You're fine. The one like half-assed question mark we all had anyway was Tyler Steen, and it's like, okay, well, that's no longer a question mark, But the bigger thing is, like, I was really breaking it down. I was like, wow, I'm really gonna be eager to see who the third string quarterback is. like Tanner McKee, we'll see him out there. Fine. We know he's going to be the backup going into the season. But yeah, do I want to see Dorian Thompson? Am I like really excited about that? No. Kyle McCord, he'll probably get some run late in the fourth quarter today. The guy that has a relationship that goes as far back as it does with Scott Loeffler. I'm interested to see what he can do. Will Shipley, are they going to throw, to the running back more? But the main thing is just the fluidity of the offense with Kevin Patullo calling plays. That's it.
Right.
That's really
the operation. That's
the
they like to call it.
operation. Yeah, exactly. Are they breaking the huddle with like 5 seconds left on the play clock? Like, don't let me see that. Are the wide receivers unaware of where they're supposed to be? It's just little things like that with a new offensive coordinator. Again, you just want to see everything be fluid. You want to see everything look like a well-oiled machine. I don't want to see Kevin Patullo flipping his play chart around or whatever. And obviously, they're not game planning for this. They're just trying to get ready for the season. But just don't give me anything so that on Friday morning I'm going, Kevin Patullo, don't know about this guy.
Yeah.
Can't even handle a preseason game. Because he has said something that I know a lot of people have taken as a positive, and it's like a confidence about him and all that, and that's good. But the more he reiterates how not different things are for him now as the offensive coordinator, like, dude, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear what's a little bit different, because it's different. The role you're in now is far different than what you were doing before. I don't care that you were, besties with Kellen Moore while he was here. I don't care. I want to know that you can call plays at the NFL level, that when you're under it and you got to make a play or got to make a play call and even a 2-minute drill in the preseason, that doesn't rattle you, that you can have that clear communication, that you have the idea that's if it's just executed, you can win a game or win a play, whatever it might be. So just don't give me any cause for concern on Friday morning. And to be honest with you, even with the backups in there, it's still the same system for Tanner McKee. So give me a clean first half of football, and I'll feel a little bit better about the upcoming.
I'm sensing a little Kevin Patullo doubt from you, Farzy. Is that true?
I'll say this. If Barzy's right, if you see panic in Kevin Patullo in a preseason game where they're not, then yes, you should panic.
We got issues.
You should panic.
Put it this way. Here's where I'm at on the whole Kevin Patullo thing. Okay. It didn't work with Brian Johnson, the in-house hire. Okay. I think the Eagles got a little confident. I thought, okay, we got all these offensive weapons. Nobody can mess this up. Anybody. We can bring a fan from the stands to call a series and we'll still score a touchdown, whatever. I think that was the mindset they had going into nobody could mess this up. Kevin Patullo's been here. He's got a rapport with the team. He has obviously learned from some other offensive coordinators, Shane Steichen being one of them, maybe the mistakes of Brian Johnson, maybe the mistakes of Nick Sirianni, and also learned a little bit with Kellen Moore as well. But here's what Kevin Patullo has that obviously Brian Johnson didn't have. The fail-safe of, when in doubt, give the ball to Saquon and have him run behind this offensive line. That's kind of a nice little. Plus, the other thing that I find so intriguing is one of the big conversation points going into last year is, what's Jalen Hurts going to be like without Jason Kelsey doing all the heavy lifting of breaking down a defense and shifting protection and all that? Well, Jalen Hurts, and it hasn't been talked about enough, took a lot more of that responsibility last year. And we saw him take a step forward in that regard. So in a similar way, but obviously not identical, but in a similar way, now he's going to be asked to do even more when it comes to reading the defense, the checkdowns that he had that were great last year. I mean, Dallas Goedert raved about it. That 3rd and 7 play against the New Orleans Saints that I think went for 67 yards.
Yeah.
I think the 3rd and 8, maybe against the Ravens. There, that little rub route, crossing route, Dallas Goedert, they did that. The amount of times he checked down to Saquon Barkley because they knew they had the right play dialed up as the audible for Saquon to break through that defense. So I think you're going to see even more of that. So one thing is the obvious. You obviously have Saquon Barkley as the fail-safe. The other is you have a much better, much smarter, more veteran quarterback in Jalen Hurts to make the right call if what was called isn't the one that's going to break that defense. So I think two things are better here. One is obviously Saquon. The other is you got a much smarter quarterback now and an advanced quarterback, an advanced version of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point by you, Far. How much do you think the offense will change that under Petula? I mean, I think blanket you can make a conversation that people know that Saquon's there now and obviously did what he did last year. So how much do they try and take that away? How much more do you think they'll go to the pass? How similar do you think it might look or different than what it did last year?
I think it's going to look very similar. And my only request of Kevin Petullo, if he can have this influence, if it can get through the Jalen Hurts check down system, I don't need Jalen Hurts to have 4,000 yards. I don't need him to have 30 touchdown passes. I don't need him to do any of that. I just want to see an Eagles offense be middle of the road when it comes to passing, not last. I mean, they were great in efficiency, but in terms of pass attempts, look, I understand that Saquon Barkley doesn't run like Derrick Henry. He's not getting hit 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, breaking 2 more tackles, getting hit by a bus, running through that, getting tackled by the entire United States Army, running through that, and then into the end zone. Like, I understand that's not a Saquon Barkley run. That's a Derrick Henry run. But 482 touches is still 482 touches. Yeah. So if you could spell Saquon a little bit from that workload and have that be more reliant on the passing game, then fine. And I said this all throughout last year. Zander, you might have heard me say this. I had never been in the city of Philadelphia before where people were arguing about abandoning the passing game. Like, that's never happened until last year. And they absolutely abandoned the passing game. And John, maybe you know who said this, because I want to give this writer credit because I think it was the perfect word to use. Atrophied. After the Panthers game, somebody asked about whether or not the passing game atrophied. Because if you remember, that was the game that AJ said, passing game needs work.
Passing was AJ's quote. What do you got passing? Yeah.
Elliot asked the question. What is passing? Jalen Hurts even said that the passing game needed to work. Nick Sirianni highlighted it as well. But the perfect word for it was, it damn right it atrophied. Like, it's great to have Saquon. It's great to just give the ball to him and see him run 70 yards for a touchdown. It's great to have this offensive line. But you keep going to that well, sooner or later it's going to come back to bite you. I mean, that's why, other than the obvious, why the Super Bowl was such a breath of fresh air, is that Jalen Hurts had to make throws. He made the throws.
I'm torn on that from the perspective. I mean, history is what it is. And when somebody touches it 482 times in this league, there's an impact the next year or very quickly, maybe next 2 years. So I'm on the camp, Mark, where, by the way, Saquon Barkley has been demonstrably better this training camp than last training camp. So that's scary, number one. But I'm starting to get in the camp of, all right, he's a running back. The shelf life is small. Take advantage of the shelf life. Ride him until he can't ride him anymore. And then figure out the rest of the stuff. That's kind of where I am. I don't get the let's cut down his touches type thing. I'm like, hey, if the game determines it, like, they have a tougher schedule. They might be behind more. They might not be closing out games. That might take care of itself. But if you need Saquon Barkley to win a game, I'm giving him the ball. I'm not worried about, AJ Dillon's got to come in to give him a rest. No. I'm giving the ball to Saquon Barkley. Is that your thought process, or are you strict pitch count type of guy?
No,
85 pitches. That's it.
That's it. No more. Get him off the field. I told you something that I didn't like about Kevin Petullo. Here's something I loved about Kevin Petullo. Situational. Everything's situational. Like, he didn't commit to one ideology. He didn't commit to one philosophy. Everything's situational. Jalen Hurts running the ball too much. Well, if that's what's needed, then he's running. Saquon Barkley running the ball too much. Well, if that's what's needed, then that's what we're going to do. Got to throw the ball. Then you got to throw the ball. Like, he didn't commit to any one way of thinking. And I absolutely love that because everything, again, it has to be fluid. I would love the goal to be, yeah, let's blow out this team and then we can give Saquon a break. I'd love it. No matter how you blow him out, blow him out.
Yeah.
But I would love the goal to be to make sure he's fresh for the postseason. But as Jalen Hurts will tell you, you got to keep the main thing, and the main thing is winning. And if the way you win is against a particular defense, Saquon Barkley is going to run all day and night against them, then hand him that football. But there's no way in hell that you're on a 1st and 10 at the 15 or whatever, and you're thinking, all right, don't give the ball to Saquon here to start us off because he's already got 20 touches in this game. Like, no. If the defense gives it to you, you take it. I am not strict pitch count in any sport where there might be anything close to a pitch count. So I'm all about letting it rip if you need to let it rip.
We'll see what they do on the offensive side. Far as you going on to the defensive side of the ball, number 1 in the NFL last year by a wide margin. Far as they were a damn good defense and a lot of changes coming in. What are your expectations as we're a couple weeks out from the start of the regular season on this defense?
My favorite word that was used for the Eagles defense really is the Eagles as a whole, but it applies more so to the defense. My favorite word that has been used to describe them is reloaded. Now, we hear these terms all the time about rebuild. Well, certainly not a rebuild. We've heard about a retooling. Nah, that's kind of still negative. But reloading means you got the same kind of ammunition in the same very efficient weapon. And that's a word I heard from, I think it was Fox Sports described the Eagles as a reloaded team. I look at Jahad Campbell. I look at a guy like Cooper DeJean as that Swiss Army knife that you have in, or that Vic Fangio has described. They seem, again, set at the defensive tackle position, even with Milton Williams not being here. This is supposed to be a new version of Jordan Davis as well. I think reloaded is pretty damn good. Nolan Smith taking a step up. Jalix Hunt taking a step up. We mentioned Jahad Campbell a lot already. I think that's a perfect way to look at this defense, and it's a hell of a scheme that they got running. As I said at the start of last year, Vic Fangio is coming here not as the Vic Fangio cover band of Sean Desai or Jonathan Gannon. He's the real deal. He's the original act, and he played the notes beautifully last year. Yeah. I want to see a lot more of that. And then the other thing is that it really is settled in with this defense just who Vic Fangio is, and it is a perfect marriage. All the stuff that we heard about coming out of Miami, the too old school, doesn't speak to men. He speaks to them like boys, whatever. Whatever buttons he's pushing seem to work really well because he can say whatever the hell he pleases. And these guys understand exactly where he's coming from and nothing's taken out of context as far as that locker room goes. And everything, it's like he knows how to motivate these players. He knows how each one needs to be motivated, and he understands how to communicate that to them. And the overriding scheme with the reloaded talent, I'm expecting another, at worst, top 5 defense in the NFL. Granted, with the guys that left, the guys that are still here are still pretty damn good. So if you're going to lose guys like a Darius Slay, well, you still got a Quentin Mitchell. You still got Cooper DeJean. You're going to lose a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. All right, you might lose that attitude, but guess who's got that attitude up front? Jalen Carter, as he talked about the other day. Reed Blankenship still there to seal a couple of games there with a interception at the end. And I think you got some good options as an outside corner when it's not Cooper DeJean between Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, and now also a guy who has started in his NFL career in Jacorian Bennett. So, I think reloaded is a good way to look at this Eagles defense. And also Nolan Smith coming in here in that supposed Brandon Graham role and maybe even take that to an even higher
That's a
level.
big ask, but yeah.
I like your by the way, I like your cover band analogy because Sean Desai was like the shittiest cover band, the shittiest shore cover band of all time.
The worst Don't Stop Believing I ever heard. All right, sorry,
JG was pretty good. He was like the middle-aged dad jam band. If you ever seen those guys, phenomenal cover band.
Yeah, I'm working on being one. Yeah.
So I like that analogy. But one thing, Farzy, you've been doing this a long time. You've been around Philadelphia a long time. This is a boring summer. There's no drama. Give me some drama. Every once in a while, Vic Fangio chimes in with a passive-aggressive comment about they don't practice too much, or that's how he That's a Howie move.
Yeah.
But that's as far as we get. How big of an advantage when you see Jerry Jones out there every week? Now Micah Parsons not be ready for week 1. Terry McLaurin, God forbid Josh Harris does something with a star player that doesn't work. How big of an advantage is that? There's no drama. None.
The culture the Eagles have created is incredible. It is just absolutely incredible. And every time I think about it, I'm like, all right, you're being a homer. Stop being a homer. But then Jerry Jones is like, well, these guys are injured all the time. Why would I pay him? And I'm like, that guy's an idiot. And I'm just beyond grateful that we don't have to worry about that. It's funny. I listened to the Vic Fangio stuff, and I love that when anytime a compliment is given that he considers over the top, he calls it out and dismisses it as
it's
ridiculous.
hilarious.
And that's hysterical. But it also makes me think about one of the lead stories is how much trash talk that's going on at camp.
Yeah.
And we talked about the offense and position battles. There's really none. You think about the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I remember going into that year, we were talking about a backup quarterback not playing, and we were talking about who's the long snapper. Like, those were the conversations. And it's like, if these are the conversations, the takeaway is you got a pretty damn good football team. If the conversation we're having this year is, wow, Saquon Barkley is comfortable and talking a lot of trash to Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter's talking trash. Like, if the trash talk is a lead story, I think you got a pretty damn good football team. And I think that's what everybody's expecting. Plus, another huge headline in all this is I have never heard anyone talk about a Super Bowl championship as if it's a wild inconvenience. Like, 3 days after they win the Super Bowl, they're at their locker, and Jalen Hurts is complaining about how every other quarterback in the league is farther ahead of their offseason workout regimen than him because he was busy winning that pesky Super Bowl. Yeah. That's just Jalen Hurts. And then throughout this entire offseason and training camp to this point, you're hearing Jordan Mailata be like, everyone stop it. Stop it. We're not defending anything. Last year was last year, this year. Like, I've heard plenty of teams, Patrick Mahomes, plenty of times. Oh, last year is last year, this year is this year. And they just give you the by the book thing. This team seems to hate the fact that they won the Super Bowl last year. That's what it seems like. And you know what? If you're a fan rooting for this team, you'll love that. Because, as always, this city is what have you done for me now? What are you going to do for me tomorrow? The past doesn't get celebrated until they honor the teams years later. This is a city that booed in 2018 at halftime when the same night they unfurled their first Super Bowl banner ever, booed them off the damn field. And then they ran Philly on the first play out of halftime, and everyone was back on, and they won that game against the Falcons. So I think that this team, when you look at the storylines and drama, the fact that there is no drama is absolutely wild. Because this team is A, just that good, and B, the culture that they talk about, that every new Eagle talks about, is just, it's true and on point. And you got to love that for your football team.
No doubt about it. As far as you sound optimistic to me coming into the year. I think, as we all should be. I think, they're a legitimate contender again coming back. How do you gauge this, far as you've been in Philly for a long time? I don't know if you've ever experienced, success to this level for this football team, as consistent as it's been. Now you've reached the high, the pinnacle of the high. We have the parade on Broad Street, and now you're coming back. What's your expectation overall? How do you kind of gauge where to be on this team coming into the season?
They're Super Bowl favorites, as far as they should win the Super Bowl. They have the best. I grew up in the era of hearing, the older crowd talk about, if Barry Sanders was behind the Cowboys offensive line, what would he have done? This is that. This is as close to that as it could be. Saquon was in a bad situation in New York. Barry was obviously in a bad situation in Detroit. If a trade ever happened, or if he ever left and went to Dallas, what that could have done. Now, look, they weren't pushing aside Emmitt Smith or anything, but I'm just living in a fantasy world for a second. If he would have left and got an offensive line like that, then he would have been even more incredible and unreal than what we had seen him do in Detroit. Saquon got to leave the bad situation and come to the best possible situation and have one of the most historic seasons ever by a running back, and the Eagles rewarded him for that. So, look, let me just say the thing that everyone always says anyway, but let me just get it out there. Stay healthy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
exactly. Stay healthy. But they're stacked. They're absolutely stacked. The only haunting thing is the injuries. And you can't predict that. You certainly don't want to put it out into existence. But when that is your biggest concern and every team's biggest concern, then you're doing okay. And I feel like this team is absolutely a Super Bowl contender again. And talk about being around Philly for a long time. We've had teams that have had great promise. And if you look around the sports scene in Philadelphia, the one that comes to mind is the 08 Phillies. That was supposed to be the beginning of it. That was supposed to be 2 championships, 3 championships. Jimmy Rollins has even said they were supposed to win 3, But it didn't go that way. Things happened, and they didn't play well at the right time. Injuries, whatever, deteriorating careers, all that. This Eagles team is very much in their prime. And they have a quarterback that I think has cracked the code of playing quarterback at the NFL level in Jalen Hurts, where he realizes what's around him. He removes himself from it in a lot of ways. And this is one of the reasons I love Jalen Hurts. It really is a main thing. People might roll their eyes about it, but if he just doesn't turn the football over, this is a Super Bowl winning team. If the Eagles stay healthy, this is a Super Bowl winning team. If Saquon can recreate what he had last year in a lot of ways, this is a Super Bowl winning team. If Vic Fangio can do it, Super Bowl winning team. And everything is pointing to the idea that they will do that this year. So I absolutely love it when you have a selfless quarterback as Jalen Hurts that can put everybody else in front of him and put everybody else in great positions to make plays on the field, not just himself. I think you can feel pretty damn good. And also, this one last thing I'll say about it is that a lot of people that, whether you want to call yourself a realist or a hater, going into the Super Bowl, people are talking about whether or not Jalen Hurts can make those throws, whether he can make the throw. And people talking about throughout the season, I'm just worried that a team is going to come in and shut down Saquon Barkley. And when Saquon Barkley's shut down, can Jalen Hurts make the throws? I've loved Jalen Hurts since he's been. I have told people numerous times, the quarterback we've waited a long time for is here right now. And I'm not going to waste a second of it trying to doubt that man because he has proven so many other people wrong. But in the Super Bowl, on the biggest stage possible, against a pretty damn good defensive coordinator, he made the throws. Saquon was taken out of the game, and he made the throws. They did what they wanted to do in their game plan. They picked their poison, and Jalen Hurts killed him. So for me, the biggest question about Jalen Hurts has been answered. So I laugh at every list that has Justin Herbert above him.
The Justin Herbert, yeah.
I laugh at every one of those lists, man. They're just put him in the
who he says he is, Mark. That's
list season at Mark Farzetta. Make sure got a lot of positivity from Farzy.
Oh, we got to run. Farzi's got to run, Johnny. I gotta get him out of here. My bad, Farz. I missed the clock.
All good.
Farz, thanks for doing it today, brother. Great takeaways as always. We love having you on here on Birds 365. Make sure you guys follow him at Mark Farzetta. We'll listen to his morning show at the Farzy Show on his channels and right here on JAKIB Sports. Farzy, thank you, brother. We appreciate you joining today, my man.
Always enjoy those 5 minutes of excitement at kickoff.
We will. Thanks, Farz. There's Mark Farzetta joining us here.
That's a lot of positivity from Farzy.
Yeah, it is. But I thought it was all good. I thought there was a great explanation with each and everything that he mentioned there. And it's always good.
I was trying to get in, but he had to go. I appreciate that. I didn't know.
Yeah, I forgot. He texted me 45, so I wanted to get him.
I did want to ask him because I've asked this to a lot of people. If you forget the injuries are obvious, but so that can derail any team. But if something was going to derail this team, what would it be? That's what I was trying to get in for Farzy. To me, obviously, I said the edge rushing part of it. If something is because they are, I mean, they're one of the most talented teams in football. So arguably the most talented team from top to bottom. So when you start at that level, you got a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl again. I think everybody understands that with the Philadelphia Eagles, but this is a difficult sport and there will be adjustments and there will be adversity. There was adversity last year. Earlier in the season, and they kept getting better and better, and playing your best football late. A lot of things went right last season. things are probably going to be a little bit more difficult, but they should be in the conversation. But I do think, boy, top 5 defense, boy, that's where I go back to. They lost a lot of good players on defense. They have a lot of good players back. That's fair to say.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know if I liked Farzi's take on it, but I did think it was a little optimistic in terms of the reloaded comment. Like, I reloaded with a lot of guys that haven't proven much yet, you know, and you can be optimistic with on them. That's fine. But you have to realize that that's optimism and not going off of, you know, a resume, really.
Yeah. And the second part of that is even the guys who are back, a lot of them had career years. Now, I'm not talking about the Quinyons and Cooper because they only played 1 year, but from the standpoint of having big seasons, you know, there's some, you know, progression is never linear in the NFL. Right. Are they going to have the same type of season, the guys who are back?
And who are you thinking outside of, I would say, Bourne, who's the obvious one?
Zach, all of them. I think Quinyon, you know, positive, looks like he's going to be better. I think, you know, Cooper playing different positions, that might complicate that. If that continues, Zach, as you mentioned, boy, how do you follow that? I don't know how you follow that.
Yeah, it's tough.
So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. We saw it with the 22 team, which didn't win, but a lot, you know, Bradbury had a phenomenal year, came back the next year and he was not good.
Right.
Now aging player, a little bit different, but the linear progression that everybody assumes, it'll happen for some, but it won't happen for others.
What would be your answer to your own question? What you just explained?
Oh, I said it consistently. Edge rusher.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the modern NFL is. Get the quarterback, or if you get to the quarterback. Now the Eagles had a quarterback playing at a high level, and they got to the quarterback in the Super Bowl. And that's where you have
destruction, right? You destroyed them.
And can they get to the quarterback as consistently as they did last year? And I'm not talking about sacks. I don't give a shit about sacks. I mean, make the quarterback uncomfortable like they did last year, to the point when we're all the Milton talk and all the Moro Jomo talk in a short, smaller sample size. They had 3 of the top 6 defensive tackles interior pass rushers in the entire NFL last year, from both a pressure percentage and if you want to use PFF grades, whatever you want to use. They had 3 of the top 5 or 6. Is that possible to do again?
Right.
I don't know.
It's gonna be tough, no doubt.
And the edge rushers were just flat out better last year. I mean, flat out better. Josh and Brandon before he got hurt. Remember, I think a lot of people forget Nolan Smith wasn't even playing that much.
No, he barely played until what, week 9?
Until the November 24th game.
Right. When BG got hurt.
Yeah. So, yeah, that remains. It has been my biggest concern. It remains my biggest concern.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Get to a couple super chats before we wrap up the show today. Caleb checks in. What's up, Caleb? Hurts will be in MVP talks from the man on the mountain, he says. That's gonna be a big ask, but he was in my bold prediction was he'd be in the top 3 in the talks. I don't know if he'll win it or not, but I think he will be up there. I think if the team is going to reach the Super Bowl, John, in my estimation, then Hurts will be in those talks, because I think that the team is going to require that type of year from him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't, but I do think it would require that type of play from him.
Yeah, I mean, I that's the kind of stuff I don't care about. But if you're the quarterback on the best team that's going to the Super Bowl, you're usually in the conversation to be the MVP. He was not last year. Why? Because he didn't have the numbers. Do they have to play differently? If they have to play differently and those numbers get back up to a 2022 standpoint, yes, that'll be in the conversation. He was number 2 that year. So it sort of depends on what type of offense. But that's why, the ultimate end game is not MVP. It's winning the Super Bowl.
Good stuff, Caleb. Appreciate it, brother. Here we go. This is a great question here. General JD says, Zander, top 5 St. Joe's prep players. Go. All right, a couple come to mind immediately. Marvin Harrison comes to mind. DeAndre Swift comes to mind. John Runyon comes to mind. Kyle McCord, I'll get there. Olamide Zaccheaus comes to mind. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. now comes to mind. And Kyle McCord, obviously the two guys we have here right now. John Reed, who played college ball at Penn State. I think he might still be in the league right now, John Reed. I got to look that up.
I don't think he is, but
no, you remember who I'm talking about, though? John Reed?
Yeah.
I don't know if John Reed's still in the league. All right, so number one's got to be Marvin Harrison. I think we all know. I mean, he was the guy drafted the highest, the most.
He's a Hall of Fame player.
John Runyon. Well, no, Marvin Harrison Jr. So I mean, it's John Runyon, I think, is a guy.
Oh yeah, what am I? I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Olamide Zaccheaus probably and DeAndre Swift have the most sustained success, I would say. And then now you have McCord, you have Trotter Jr. How about an old pull, Rich Gannon, who went to St. Joe's Prep?
Oh yeah, Rich Gannon. Yeah, Rich is a former MVP. He's got to be up there. I don't know how good he was at St. Joe's. I assume he was good.
He was a St. Joe's Prep guy, right? Former MVP. Another guy. Now this isn't football, JD, but how about Steve Visturia? I loved Steve Visturia, basketball player, great basketball player. Played his college ball at Notre Dame. So that's a good question. That made me think of a bunch of Penn State athletes St. Joe's Prep athletes that come to mind.
How long has St. Joe's Prep been around?
I'm going to say early 1900s, probably.
So it's been around that
1933, maybe. Let me look that up. St. Joe's Prep.
But how long have they been a powerhouse in football?
Wow, longer than that. 1851. Powerhouse in football, a lot shorter. They had Gabe Infante was the coach when I was there, John, and that's when they really got over the hump with they had John Reed on that team and a couple other. And then since that point, they've really just kind of,
Yeah, that's been more
extended,
recent.
yeah.
That's what okay. That makes more sense.
Probably. See, this is here it goes. How about top 5 St. Joe's B-ball? Now we're in a different area. I brought up Steve Visturia, probably my favorite one in that regard. I don't know who's kind of panned out. I haven't looked at that as much. I remember Chris Clover was a big player when I was there. I'd have to look a little deeper. Phil Martelli, right? Well, he's St. Joe's, but I'd have to look a little deeper on basketball. They don't come to mind as easier. I cover football every day, so I know the guys who are in football. I'd have to look a little deeper. How about a hockey player, JD? Kyle Criscola. All right, that's a good one there. So good stuff. Appreciate that super chat, man.
Yeah,
Brian Pumper says
Sanders got to carry me on the St. Joe's Prep talk.
Yeah, I can't expect you.
I'm not as well versed.
Yeah. Brian says, hold up. Already know Tanner was a 61 overall, but there is absolutely no freaking way Jalen Hurts has the same throw power, 86. His name is Bazooka Tanner. What the F?
I told you Pumper would be upset when he figured out the Madden ratings. Yeah. I don't think they put that much thought into it, Pumper.
61 is a little egregious.
I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
There's Jeremy follows up one more time. Prep beat my alma mater in the state chip like 70-6. Sorry. They're a good team, man. They're a good school. They have a lot of good talent going through there. Pump, I knew you'd be upset, but 61's egregious. I'm going to actually side with Pumper on this, John. 61 is. I don't care if you don't care about Madden.
He doesn't play, so they don't care.
That's egregious.
They're not. They're all egregious.
Yeah. All right, Johnny Mac. Good show today, brother. We'll talk to you tonight. A little pregame action, John. The preseason. Give me your top player you're watching tonight, John.
Top player? Oh, I don't want to go with the obvious, which would be Jihad. I mean, we'll go St. Joe. I'm really excited to see Kyle McCord because I've been very impressed with how quickly he processes, and I want to see if that continues in the game. Now he'll be behind, the third team offensive line, throwing the third team receivers, but that's been the case for most of training camp, all of training camp, and he just, he does what he's supposed to do. I'm interested to see if that continues in a live environment where he doesn't have a red jersey on and, can be hit. And, he's not going to extend plays like Jalen Hurts, but he's got to show that he has enough ability to,
Right.
manipulate the pocket and do some of that occasionally as well.
Yep, good stuff there. Johnny Mac, we'll talk to you tonight, brother. Big preseason game on the docket. J Mac, great show today. Your final thoughts here on a Thursday edition of Birds 365.
The preseason is here. And the best thing about that is after tonight is over, it's going to be a long day. But after tonight is over, then we only got 2 more preseason games. So,
I know. But
let's
those two,
check
I
them
feel like
off.
the
Let's
second
check them
and
off.
I feel like the second and the third preseason games are even worse because it's like
They are.
you already got like the brief excitement of seeing guys like Farzetta said, guys in Eagles jerseys, and then you're just like, all right, holy crap, now I got to watch a bunch of these dudes all, But I digress. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We'll talk to you tonight.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right, thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us here on Birds 365. Great show today. Farzy was great. Love talking to Farzy. I like that. He brought some optimism. All right. He brought some optimism for sure to the show today. So that was pretty good. What's going on, everybody? Preseason game tonight. Always good to catch up with everybody and kind of talk to the chat. I did want to hear from you guys what you're most excited to see tonight. John's not an Eagle honk, so we can't expect him to be quite as excited as we'll be. But our Birds will be on the field tonight in Eagle green jerseys. I think that's a positive thing. I think that's an exciting thing, no matter how you frame it. Who are you looking to see tonight? Who are you most looking to see tonight on the practice field? I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I do wonder what you guys think. Pumper says, J-Mac's a Vikings fan, Xander. Come on, man. We know. He's not a Viking fan. I don't think he gives a shit about the Vikings. Jalen Carter, 43 in top 100. I thought he'd be a little higher. Texas Tech, I think this year might be the really coming out party from a sense of people realize what the upside is. Like 43 is good. It's not disrespect. Obviously, people know he's a great player, but I think this is the year where he moves to the top 15 and people understand how good of a defensive tackle he is. He's closer to Chris Jones than he is to some of the guys that are lesser. Where's Chris Jones ranked? Like, that's what I want to know. I think Jalen Carter's closer to that than people realize just yet. And that's fine. He's a young player. Rich says, Z, what are you cooking tonight? Rich, I'll be the kind of guy that cooks. I told you this. We've discussed this. I'll get out the grill every once in a while, but I work, I hustle, and I grind. And cooking is, I leave that for the woman in my life. They handle that for me. So big thanks to them. I love them. I wouldn't be the man I am without them. So I can't say I've put even a single solitary second. And when I say I don't mean 1 second outside of this chat right here. I haven't put in 1 second of thought into that. Too many other things I'm thinking about right now. All right. We got some fun updates coming. I will say this. All right. We got some fun updates coming on the channel in terms of, I'm bringing in some help. I need some people to help. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And I'll even have like a little code word for you guys, all right, in the chat to be able to communicate so we can look, I want to make the channel better. That's the whole goal, right? I want to make the channel better. I want to make it more fun for you guys to consume and then also share out what's said here and what's talked about here, to a wider scope and reach a bigger audience. So that's going to be the whole goal. And we're going to have a lot more coming from that. So I'm excited to share some of that with you guys. I'll keep you guys posted on it. Intern Sirianni. Intern, I got to love it. Intern was in here the other day, and me and him are going back and forth a little bit. All right, we were going back and forth a little bit. I was shitting on him. He was shitting on me. It's kind of how it goes. And then, a couple minutes later, Intern becomes a member. Intern, did I win you over, Intern? Come on, man. Come on. He became a member after I took him to a paper shredder. He shredded me too, so it's all good fun. Intern, thanks for being here, brother. Twiz says, Zen, quit buying cards and get access to film, you bastard. Twiz, fuck off, Twiz. Twiz wants to put me in a box. I'll tell Twiz, yo, Twiz, sit down and shut the fuck up, Twiz. Sit down and shut up, Twiz. Fredo says it's a pizza and wings night. Come on, people in JAKIB. Yo, Fredo, what was that thing you commented on my my Instagram in my car? Something about a some sort of thing to put on my car, you said? I don't know what it is you meant. You have to clarify that for me, Fredo. Zander Cook, yeah, Philly Don. You know, Philly Don's been around long enough to know that I ain't lifting a damn finger when it comes to stirring stuff in the kitchen. It's just not me. It's just not my role, you know? It's not that I can't do it. It's that I have people who love to do it. They do it much better than I do, and they do it out of the goodness of their heart. All right? With love. You ever had a meal cooked with love? You know, it's one thing to make, it's one thing to eat. It's a whole nother ball game to eat a meal cooked with love. Have you ever had a meal cooked with love? I'll tell you what, it'll rock your taste buds. Jimbo says, Z, who do you have your eyes on in tonight's game? I think the obvious one is Campbell, but I would say Sidney Brown and the corners, like Ringo and Sidney, right? Like those are, I want to know about those guys, Jimbo. Those are my biggest questions on the defense. And then you could probably throw Jalen Hunt in there. You know. Fly Park says, yeah, I cook it myself. Well, Fly, everybody knows meals that are cooked for you taste better than the ones you cook for yourself. I recommend you trying it one time, Fly. Pumper's going down some goofy road. Leave it to Pumper to always do that. Rico gets it. That's the secret ingredient. It is the secret ingredient. All right. Kimberly says, Z, did you see that Sirianni reached out to Saban on the key? I saw your email. I talked to John about it. I didn't hear it, Kimberly, so I got to go back and listen to it. But I did hear Jalen talk about the SEC culture. And, you know, obviously that's been a big that's been the you know, kind of a big theme of this team is that they've taken on the SEC players and the mindset. And it's so evident in this team. The way the Georgia guys approach the game, the way the Alabama guys approach the game, the way that people who came up in programs like that approach the game. You know, and I know we have a bunch of people in here probably, oh, they love Penn State and all these other things. And sure, you can get great players out of there. That's not to say that you can't get great players. But, you know, when you draft the right players from the right schools and the right programs, the difference in their approach, their mindset, their work ethic from day one is just such a difference. It's such a difference. All right. It's such a difference. J5 checking in. What's up, brother? Appreciate you for being here, my man. I don't know if you're new to the channel. I don't recognize the name. I think I see a Hurts season hat on there. Shout out to Lord Brunson. He says Ty Rob. So you want to see Ty Rob tonight. It's a good pull, a good name pull. Kind of had a shitty camp. Not a shitty camp, but not a camp that breeded optimism, I would say. All right. Not necessarily a you know, every time I glance over at the chat and I see a Prince comment, dude, makes me laugh. This dude, Prince, is too fucking funny. Prince, I think you understand me a little too well, my friend. I wonder why, Prince. But J5, you're right about Ty Rob. You know, it's a guy you want to see tonight. What can he be? They traded Thomas Booker, so it's like, all right, clearly some optimism on Ty Robinson. What's it look like on the football field? It's one thing to get stonewalled in practice. It's another thing to, you know, what do you look like in a game situation? Thank you, Brian Pumper. He says, Penn State, dog, what, Xander? We don't support bum-ass Penn State around here. I'm with you, Pump. You know, you're not going to get Penn State support out of me. But I know these comments enough to know that your Penn State groupies will show up quick, man. They will grow. They will show up quick. My boy J5 becomes a member. Thank you, J5. I appreciate that, brother. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Good to see you in here. Always good to get some new faces, new names in the chat. Love hearing from you. And I think you're right about Ty Robinson. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Here's Josh B. As a Big Ten guy, even just watching the games, you can see the difference in the SEC. No doubt. No doubt. He says, seriously, even Devontae proposed an Alabama wideout workout. Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Terrence says, what if they don't play Ringo tonight? Well, Terrence, I want to see Ringo, but would that tell you that they know he's going to be the starter? I mean, if they put him on the bench today, Prince, I like want to read your comment, but I can't even read I can't even read that comment, Prince. Oh my gosh, Prince. Prince, I'm a simple man. All right, I'm a simple man. Oh man. Xander, have you seen the SEC show? And I didn't. I want to watch that though. I gotta watch it. I'm not Jimbo, I'm not a Netflix guy. You know, I just don't watch a lot of shit. I sit in front of this computer screen all day. All right. 6:30 in the morning to whenever I finish at night, sometimes midnight. Last night was a late night for me. I was working late last night. But I don't know. It's gonna have to be really good to pull me over and watch some Netflix. It's gonna have to be really good. Like it's gonna have to be really freaking worth my time. And I don't know if it qualifies as that. All right. I don't know if it qualifies as that. I got too much going on. Too much going on. Fast cars, fast women, and fast food. Everything but the fast food. Not a fast food eater. I just told you, Kevin Savard. Kevin Savard, open up the ears. You think food made with love comes from the fast food joints? No hate on fast food, but I just said I like food made with the secret ingredient, as Rico Mark pointed out. With love, baby. Come on. Come on, man. Who is returning punts today is a fair question. I don't know. I was just kidding. See, I got you, Savard. Appreciate you for being here, big dog. Appreciate you for being here. Appreciate it. Prince says, yes, the Eagles went through a period of developing players from unranked schools. We are currently at the SEC phase like Marvel. You're right, Prince. Although you brought up the Toledo kid earlier. Toledo and Iowa. So it doesn't always have to be SEC. Toledo and Iowa last year. And we got two freaking studs. So it doesn't always have to be the SEC. Okay? Doesn't always have to be the SEC. Kevin Savard says, my wife can cook. That's a blessing. All right. That's a blessing. Doesn't always have to be SEC, but it is a better bet, I would say, overall, to go to players that have that type of, that type of college environment that breeds winning, champion, work ethic, all those different things. How does your wide receiver one overly praise Josh Allen but not Burrow? That's goofy. Are you talking about Jamar Chase? I guess you're talking about Jamar Chase. Do LSU or Alabama produce the best wide receivers? I think you'd probably have to give LSU the nod right now, Terrence. But there was a period. I mean, look, Henry Ruggs kind of fucked it up a little bit. But Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, who else am I missing? We're all there at the same time. I think there was one other wide receiver I'm missing that was there at the same time. I forget who. Why am I blanking on that name? Did I ever meet Walt Gary? Yeah, I think I know who that is. That's the guy. Yeah, Walt Gary's yeah. He was the super fan. He passed away, didn't he, man? He passed away, Rico. Calvin Ridley, that's right. Julio was there a little earlier. Jalen Waddle, that's right. Thank you, Keese. Thank you, Keese. I mentioned Judy. It was Waddle. Yeah, I think Ruggs will be out next year. Look, we had a great, for those who were just checking back in this year, we had a great conversation, one of the things I love about JAKIB is we don't just stay on the surface. And me and Cilio had just what I thought was a tremendous conversation on Henry Ruggs, on redemption, on living with what he went through, obviously killed a person, in the way that he did, speeding, car accident, driving 157 miles an hour, whatever it was. We had a really, really strong conversation that kind of weighed into the deeper parts of that. It's not just about a player. It's not just about skill set. It's not just about, go to prison. There's a lot. It's a lot more to it. So that was a good, killed the dog too. Yeah. Yeah. So a woman and her dog, no doubt. That was a good show, Z. Thank you, SC. That was a great show. I like conversations like that, man. I think depth is a good part of life. I I think I consider myself someone that likes to see the depth in things, not just the surface level of things. Surface level conversations, they don't get to me. And I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy those types of relationships. So I did think that was a good show. Today is Jalen Hurts' birthday, 27 years old. 27 years old today. He won't speed again. Prince, you would hope not. I mean, well, if you're going to do it, Prince, do it in a controlled environment, right? Like, you got all the resources you need to be able to take your awesome car that you have and bring it to a track or bring it to an open place where, it's regulated. You're not going to put anybody's life into all those things. Like, I love cars. You're talking to somebody that understands the desire to go fast. There's a difference between doing it in an environment where you can enjoy it and you can do it without putting others' lives in danger. Because now I believe you're crossing into the territory of, is it really worth it? Like, I know you like going fast. Is it really worth it to put other people's lives in danger? I mean, yeah, Pump. I mean, I'm with you. 160 in a residential area is just fucking nuts. I mean, it's almost insane to say. It's almost insane to even speak that out loud. 160 miles an hour in a residential. There was literally homes next to where he was driving. Homes. Families who lived in their homes heard the crash right outside. Look, again, you're talking to a guy that loves cars. I mean, I just spent money on a sports car. I love cars. Come on, man. Be smart. That's I agree, Prince. You're right. That's a traumatizing experience. There's no doubt. And that's kind of what we talked about, Prince, when me and Celia had the conversation of, redemption, second chance. What do you think about when you're rogues? What kind of things do you have to go through? What does that produce from you? I'm not one of the people who thinks you go through something bad in life and you should be cast out, and put out the pasture for the rest of your life. We all go through different things in life that teach us, that help us grow, and that force us to become different versions of who we are. And I think there's a lot of there. Dude, does the non-water car wash sprays like Max will work? I don't know because I don't use them, Fly Eagles, but got to ask somebody like Fredo, who's a detailer. I don't use them, though. I told you I got this, these youngsters walked by my house yesterday and gave me this. They wanted to give me 50% off, so I'm going to do it. I like a hustler. I like a young hustler. Fredo says, Xander, who is your role model? That's tough to define, my friend. Tough to define, my friend. I'd say the easy answer would be like my dad. But I feel like everybody says that. But that would be mine. My dad is somebody who works his ass off and doesn't take anything for himself. Doesn't literally. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. Like, the guy's literally. So that's why I always laugh. People are like, you're a Nepo. I'm like, my dad literally worked 95, 100-hour work weeks with $0 in the bank because every dollar was earned was going toward trying to put his kids in a better position. That full selfless guy lives a selfless life. So from that perspective, my dad would be a role model. I don't know, dude. I don't have role models. Like, I don't look at another human, and I don't say this with disrespect. I don't look at other humans and say, I desire what you have. Like, I don't think that's a good way to go through life. I don't think that's a good way to go through life. I don't desire what people I think it's awesome what people achieve in life, what people go through, what people experience. I think there's a lot to learn from it. But I don't look at somebody who, for example, has a lot of money and say, oh, I wish I had what he had, or somebody that has a lot of success and, oh, I wish I had what they had, or, from the faith perspective, somebody that has a lot of faith, I think is a noble thing and something I certainly strive toward, but their version of that will always look different than my version of that. Right. So I don't know. Role models is a tough conversation, is an interesting conversation. Curtis, here's Curtis checking me. Z, that's not what role model means. All right. Well, Curtis, define it however the hell you want. I'm telling you what I think of it. I don't really have role models because. Go ahead, Curtis, define it. Define it. Define it, and then I'll answer it based on what your definition of it is. Not everyone looks up to their dad. A healthy relationship like that's a blessing. I got definitely a great relationship with my dad for sure. Rich, that's funny. That's funny. Everybody doesn't say that, Z. You're blessed. Thanks, Keith. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Someone you look up to is all a role model is. Yeah, well, then there's plenty of different things, but I take different things from different people, right? If I want business success, I look for a role model that has success in what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to be. You know, if I want faith success, I look up to somebody that has the things I want. If I want to figure out a role model to be a father, I look to somebody that has the fruits of what I want, right? Like I always get if somebody doesn't have what you want in life, then why really take too much advice? That's not to say that people don't have good thoughts or good advice or things, but I don't know if that's necessarily a thing that you would subscribe to live your life. So I don't know. Interesting conversation, though. Interesting conversation for sure. Let me get to another comment here. I'm sweating in this office. This damn window air conditioner stopped working. I've been telling you guys this. All right. All right, everybody. I'm getting out of here pretty soon. Preseason game tonight. I'm gonna get off because I have tons of content to do today. We're gonna be live tonight for the game, and then we'll be live post game, live pre-game. I'll do a segment with John pre and post. I don't know if I'll be live for the full game. I know some of you wanted me to stream the game. I don't know if I got that in me. I don't know if I want to do that for the preseason game. We are going to have a stream for the games during the regular season, a play-by-play. So Krause will do that, and we'll have that. Plenty of more content coming, all right? Plenty of more content coming, okay? So I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Thanks for chopping it up with me on a little Zander time today, Post-Birds 365. We had a good show today. Farzy was dope, good opening segment. Kind of got into who to look for. And I don't know, it's preseason. There's not that much to take from it, but it's, it's all good. So I appreciate all of you guys for being here. Exciting news coming on the channel. All right. I am going to add some, I'm adding to the team of I want to distribute what we do better. I want to improve our production value. I want to make this a better place to be. I want to do more for the members. Like, how do I do that? I need more hands on the back end. So I'm bringing them in a little bit, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. I'll have a keyword for you guys in the chat. So if we hear a clip or a segment that needs to be pulled, I'll have a keyword, and maybe I can get somebody on it immediately to pull that clip. So it's something I've lacked at because I'm only one man, and I'm the only one who handles the behind the scenes of the channel. John and Cilio are simply content. They're on the show, and then when they click the link to join, and when they leave, they're gone. So everything else has to happen by me. The setup, the stream, the videos, everything. So that's got to be done by me. So hopefully we can improve on that regard. Appreciate all you guys being here. Hit that like button. I'll see you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.